Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, ever merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace and blessings of God be upon you all. My name is Asif Arif, and I'll be your host for today's event. It's been nearly 2 months since COVID-19 fundamentally changed our world. Likewise, Ramadan this year was never going to be the same. On behalf of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at, I'd like to welcome all of our viewers and panelists today in virtually experiencing Ramadan with us. We will try our best to make this virtual Ramadan program as smooth as possible, but sometimes technology does seem to get the best of us. So my apologies in advance if we face any technical difficulties. We always commence our programs with the recitation of the Holy Quran. I'd like to welcome Mr. Salahuddin Chatta to please recite a portion of the Holy Quran.
Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. I have just recited verse number 184 and 185 of chapter 2 from the Holy Quran. Now I'll present the English translation. O ye who believe, fasting is prescribed for you, as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may become righteous. The prescribed fasting is for a fixed number of days, but whoso among you is sick or is on a journey shall fast the same number of other days. And for those who are able to fast only with great difficulty is an expiation, the feeding of a poor man. And whoso performs a good work with the willing obedience, it is better for him. And fasting is good for you if you only knew. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salahuddin Chatta, for such a beautiful recitation of the Holy Quran. It is the blessed month of Ramadan, and due to these uncertain and difficult times, we are not experiencing Ramadan like we normally would. We can't pray at the mosque, we can't gather in the mosque to learn about the Quran, and we can't gather for those amazing collective iftar dinners. This year, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at has organized a completely virtual Ramadan. To, and this is a completely virtual Ramadan, and it's to get together to with Muslims and non-Muslims alike. It's a virtual way of getting together with Muslims and non-Muslims alike. This Ramadan will likely be the most important and memorable one for us because of these challenging times. Humanity has been through trials and tribulations before. This time, we are all in this together. For those who may not know the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at was founded in 1889 by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. He claimed to be the metaphorical second coming of Jesus, peace be upon him. After the demise of the founder of the Jama'at in 1908, there has been a system of successorship known as Khilafat. And currently, we are the largest Muslim organization led by one leader, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad. He is the fifth Khalifa and he resides in the UK. As Muslims who believe in the Messiah, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, we follow the true teachings of Islam as taught by the holy founder of Islam, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Our motto, as many of you may know, is love for all, hatred for none. This program is a prime example of how, despite the difficult times, our community will continue building bridges and developing an understanding between one another. We have with us a distinguished panel of guests who will be speaking to us over the course of this program. We have with us Honorable Jag Sahota, Dr. Warren Harbeck, Imam Zahid Abid, Honorable Rick McIver. We have with us Raksh Joshi, Cynthia Simmons, Honorable Rajan Sohani, Councillor George Chahal, Chief Lee Crowchild, Amanpreet Singh Gill, Reverend Adrian Martins, Raj Gill, and of course, we have with us today Mayor Nahid Nanshi. Throughout the program, my co-host will be Akbar Ali. The viewers at home can also participate in the program by expressing themselves via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @IslamCalgary. Please use the hashtag Virtual Ramadan, Ramadan being spelled as RAMADAN. So without further ado, let me introduce our first guest, the Honorable Jagdeep Sahota. She is the MP for Calgary Skyview. Jag Sahota has been a long-standing pillar of the Calgary community, and she grew up in Calgary. I'll hand it over to the Honorable Jag Sahota.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you're good to go.
Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to start off by thanking the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at for inviting me to participate this year in the virtual Ramadan celebrations. Like you said, Ahmadiyya community holds a very special place in my heart, so I'm very honored to be here today and celebrating with all of you. I also like to extend my warmest wishes to everyone observing Ramadan in Calgary and across the world. Ramadan represents the holiest month of Islam and is a reminder to all of us about the importance of helping the less fortunate. And this is especially important right now due to COVID-19 pandemic. I know many Muslim communities across Canada have stepped up to help their neighbors by organizing food banks and donating to charities as well. So I would like to thank everyone who has participated in donating, since this is a very essential service during these times. Ramadan is also a time which brings families and the community closer together, as everyone gathers at mosques, community centers, or family homes for iftar dinners, but due to physical distancing, it won't be possible this year. Despite not being able to meet one another in person, it's important to stay connected during this time. And by doing an event virtually, it shows that we still find interactive ways to celebrate together and stay connected. So thank you once again to Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at for giving me the opportunity to participate this year, and Bahut Bahut Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you, Jak Sahota, and Ramadan Mubarak to you as well. And as you've so eloquently stated, this is a time for us to find new ways to interact with one another. And this is exactly what we have tried to do today. And hopefully we are successful. Now I'd like to introduce to the audience our next guest, Dr. Warren Harbick. Dr. Warren Harbick is a familiar face to the readers of the Cochrane Eagle, publisher of his weekly Slice of Life column, Coffee with Warren. The best books that Warren has ever read on wisdom are not found in library shelves, but around cafe tables and campfires. I'd like to ask Dr. Warren Harbick to please share some food for thought.
Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you very much. I bring greetings from Cochrane. We in Cochrane, for 11 years, have been privileged to host the World Religions Conference, which you folks support, you sponsor, you've organized for us, and you've made us so aware of the complex issues of world religions and how to get along together respectfully. And for this, we are profoundly grateful. About the particular topic today, fasting in the context of Ramadan. It's also an important principle within Christianity. Christianity just passed through Lent, just before Ramadan began. And both Lent and Ramadan share these three focal points: prayer, fasting, and charitable works, charitable deeds. These three penitential practices, we call them, are critically important. The fasting by itself goes nowhere, except it points us to a closer relationship with God, developed through prayer and expressed in our positive, supportive relationship with one another, charitable actions. And for this, we are so grateful. I must say that sometimes the charitable actions, this time of fasting, of prayer, is not entirely our choice. It is imposed on us by events like COVID-19. And suddenly we see the value of our religious fasting as practice to encounter the reality of events like COVID-19 and how to get along in our communities. And this is what we have seen so much of. So I'm thinking now of something that Jesus said, and it's very important. When he was going through 40 days of temptation, 40 days of fasting, at the end of that time, as we know, Satan came to him and said, look, why don't you turn these rocks into bread? You can do it. And Jesus says, no way. He says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. The fasting closened his relationship with the Father. Our fasting leads us to a closer time of prayer. That closer time of prayer leads us to a more obedient time of support of our neighbors and our relatives. In this regard, I do a column, as you mentioned, Coffee with Warren. The past couple issues have focused on a theme called Cups of Light, how we serve each other cups of light, of encouragement. And just this past week, I received a most exciting, inspiring letter from a member of your Beit Nur community, from Amtul Kayum Anjum, the president of your women's chapter. She talked about how she's experienced acts of charity during this time of Ramadan, during this time of COVID-19. She concluded with something that was an echo of something I had seen in the prophet Isaiah. Let me read some verses from prophet Isaiah first. Isaiah 58. Is not this the fast that I choose, God said, to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? And when you see the naked, to cover him and not hide yourself from your own flesh? Then shall your light break forth like the dawn. Well, when Amtul Kayum Anjum wrote to me, after telling me some of the beautiful charitable actions she has seen around your community, she wrote, "It is a new dawn which sheds light upon the beauty of life. It is just a matter of us seizing this light."
Very well put.
Ramadan Kareem. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. That was so heartwarming to hear those words. And as you've mentioned, Lent and Ramadan, they have the three things in common: prayer, fasting, and charitable work. We have so much more in common than we do differences. Thank you so much for those kind words. Our next guest is Imam Zahid Abid. Zahid Abid is an imam for one of the biggest mosques in Canada, the Virtual Ramadan Mosque here in Calgary. After having graduated from the Ahmadiyya Institute for Islamic Studies in 2010, he has served in various places in Canada and abroad. Imam Zahid will be highlighting the significance of Ramadan. Imam Zahid.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the rejected. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. The distinguished guests that have joined us and have taken the time to be here with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace and blessings of Allah be with you all. As you all know, that Muslims are celebrating the month of Ramadan. It is the fourth of the pillars of Islamic faith. The Holy Quran, as you heard in the beginning in the recitation of the Quran, it mentions that, O ye who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may become righteous. So fasting in itself is not something which is unique to Islam, but perhaps fasting as practiced by Muslims is the most comprehensive in its nature. Fasting is a practice which has been observed by all saintly people in one form or another. Muslims observe fast not only for its physical benefits, but the main purpose, as mentioned in the Quran, is to become righteous, pious, and to increase in spirituality. Explaining the true essence of fasting in Islam, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the promised Messiah and the founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at, he said, fasting is not merely staying hungry and thirsty, rather its reality and its impact can only be gained through experience. It is human nature that the less one eats, the more one's spirit is purified, and thus his capacity for his spiritual vision increases. The will of God is to decrease one kind of sustenance and to increase the other. A person who is fasting should always be mindful that he is not just required to stay hungry. On the contrary, he should be engaged in the remembrance of God so that he can cut asunder ties of worldly desires and amusements and is wholly devoted to God. Hence, the significance of fasting is this alone, that man gives up one kind of sustenance which only nourishes the body and attains the other kind of sustenance which is a source of comfort and gratification for the soul. Indulgence in unbecoming speech and inappropriate actions nullifies the very objective of fasting in Islam. This is why the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has taught us that he who does not shun telling a lie by word and deed should know that God needs not his abstention from food and drink. Furthermore, fasting aims to teach Muslims to control their passions and lead productive lives. It is with this intent in mind that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, taught a simple lesson regarding fasting. He said, fasting is a shield. So the day one of you fasts, he should not indulge in foul talk, nor should he shout. And if someone abuses him or fights with him, he should simply say to him, I am fasting, I am fasting. The word Ramadan itself is derived from the Arabic root word of Ramadan, which means intensely hot or burning. The month of Ramadan is named as such for three reasons. First, one who fasts becomes hot due to thirst. Second, worship and devotion in this month burns away the traces of sin. And third, devotion in this month produces the necessary warmth of love in man for his creator and fellow beings. Ramadan was chosen as the month of fasting and spiritual advancement due to its association and close affinity with the revelation of the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran itself states, the month of Ramadan is that in which the Quran was sent down as guidance for mankind with clear proofs of guidance and discrimination. The blessings of the month itself can be understood by the saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. He said, when the month of Ramadan enters, the gates of heavens are flung open, and the gates of hell are shut, and Satan's are chained. That is to say, when the essence of month enters one's heart, then the gates of hell are shut, and the Satan that invites one to evil is chained. Such a blessed time and opportunity comes with equal responsibilities. Thus, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the promised Messiah alayhi salam, states, during that month, one should discard one's preoccupation with eating and drinking, and cutting asunder from these needs should address oneself wholly towards God. Unfortunate is the person who is bestowed material bread and pays no attention to spiritual bread. Material bread strengthens the body, and spiritual bread sustains the soul and sharpens the spiritual faculties. Seek the grace of God, as all doors are opened by His grace. A typical day in the life of a Muslim during Ramadan is active, engaging, and disciplined. Some of the components of Ramadan that a Muslim observes and practices and looks forward to experiencing during the month are, for example, the Tahajjud prayer, which is a prayer offered individually after midnight and before the dawn prayer, early in the morning. The Taraweeh prayer, which are the prayers offered at night in congregation, and these can be offered in the place of the early morning prayers. And the Suhoor, which are the traditional Islamic meal taken before beginning a fast, and the Iftar, the traditional Islamic meal taken upon opening a fast. The Dars-e-Quran, which means special sermons on the verses of the Holy Quran given in the mosques during Ramadan. Attending these special sermons gives one insight into Quranic teachings and complements one's spiritual journey during the month. The Itikaf, which means seclusion, observed during the last 10 days of Ramadan, preferably in a mosque. And Laylatul Qadr, which translates as the night of destiny, a particularly blessed night among the odd nights of the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan. And Eid al-Fitr, which means the Islamic festival to mark the completion of the Ramadan. It is celebrated by congregational prayers followed by a sermon. Muslims rejoice for having been given the strength to fulfill their obligations of fasting. It is my humble prayer that in this blessed month of Ramadan, Muslims worldwide are able to benefit from this month to its most. May Allah enable all to do so. Thank you very much for your kind attention and for joining us today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Thank you, Imam Zahid. As you've so beautifully articulated, the main purpose of fasting is to become righteous, to have that connection with God. Without having that connection with God, we cannot attain that inner peace. Thank you, Imam Zahid. Before I proceed to the next guest, I'd like to acknowledge that we have Yasin Chaudhry, MLA, joining us online, Irfan Sabir, MLA, and Whitney Lasek, MLA. These are all distinguished guests that are tuning in live to our program. Our next guest is Raksh Joshi. Raksh Joshi is the president of the Hindu Society of Calgary. Today, Raksh will be speaking to us about the significance of fasting according to Hinduism. Raksh.
Hello. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, Raksh, we can hear you.
Very good. Ramadan Mubarak to all of who are fasting, first of all. And fasting is the most beautiful thing you can do in your religion. And everybody does that. It not only gives you strength and a sense of religion among everybody who is fasting, it creates something you can believe in, and you have more power, and then you believe in it, and then you also do zakat as well. Am I right, Zahid? And this means if you can't, you can do this. This means let's keep doing all these fastings. Fasting is always good. It gives you energy. It gives you patience. It gives you a sense of religion. And I believe that fasting is most beautiful thing you can do to energize and rejuvenate your mental and body and your health as well, along with the God's. You have a belief in God as well, and that's all I want to say in a brief message. That doing fasting is a beautiful thing, and we all in our religion we do fasting, and in Hinduism we do fasting as well. And there are so many days in a week where we actually do fast. And for you guys, for 1 month, 30 days, Ramadan and fasting for 30 days is amazing. You guys are amazing, and I wish you all the best. And from me and from Hindu Society of Calgary, I wish everybody Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you.
Thank you, Raksh Joshi, for those encouraging words. And yes, you're right. Ramadan has a very important aspect of charity and giving to those less fortunate. In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to be so charitable in the month of Ramadan, even more so than on regular days, that his charity has been likened to a strong blowing wind. Thank you so much, Raksh Joshi, for your kind words. Our next guest is Honorable Rick McIver. Rick is currently serving as the Minister of Transportation and as Deputy House Leader. He has served Albertans in various capacities, and he has served Calgarians as a City Councillor for 3 terms. Over to you, Minister McIver.
Well, thank you. First of all, let me say Ramadan Mubarak. It's a wonderful celebration. And I also would like to say what an honor it is to be amongst such an esteemed group of people here. So thank you all for letting me be a small part of this important celebration. It's, you know what, the blessed month of Ramadan is important. And on this particular Zoom celebration of Ramadan, I'm very moved that the theme of it is the the fasting, the self-sacrifice, the helping those less fortunate. I think that's an incredible expression of what's important right now, and especially during the times of self-isolation during the COVID-19 crisis. I think there's no better time to deny ourselves through fasting and to think about those less fortunate, and to do charitable works at a time when so many people are needing those charitable works. So I think it's wonderful. We're hearing examples of how fasting is important across all faiths, and of course, in our Christian faith, the season of Lent is an important time for self-denial and self-sacrifice. So I would like to think that it goes back to the Abrahamic roots of the Muslim faith, of Islam, of the Jewish faith, and of the Christian faith, all one. Back at the time of Ibrahim. So thank you. It's wonderful to be here. We are, you know, all of us are working hard to help each other get through this time. I know many people right now are, because of the COVID, are unemployed. And they certainly need and deserve our prayers, and they need and deserve our help. And the other people that we need to probably think about now and pray for and thank are those who are employed, because many of us who are employed are, rather than underemployed, are overemployed, doing lots of work to try to help other people, or perhaps doing their work at personal risk of getting the disease, even during this time. In the case of Muslims, while they're fasting, going to work, whether it's, no matter what it is, whether it's in the medical industry, whether it's getting food and medicine to people that desperately need it, or just doing any other job, meeting with the public, and by so doing putting themselves at risk. I think it's a good time now to think about them, to pray for them, and to pray that we all come out at the other end of COVID healthy and happy, and with our family intact, inshallah. So so thank you. I'm honored to be a small part of this. I liked some of the previous comments. It makes me happy that it's considered that heaven is open and hell is shut. This can only be a good thing, and that we all are working to become a little bit more righteous. So I just wanted to give my sincere greetings and my gratitude for being here, and I'm very honored that I'm included in this wonderful celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister McIver. Thank you, Minister McIver, for those beautiful words. And as you have said, you know, we all hope and pray that we come out of this difficult situation all the more healthier and more closer to God. Thank you, Minister McIver. Honorable Michelle Rempel Garner, MP for Calgary Nose Hill, was to join us today, but was unable to attend. She has sent her greetings. She writes, "I wish to extend my greetings to everyone attending this year's virtual Ramadan. I would like to recognize the hard work of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at Calgary and the hours of commitment that many contributed in order to make this event possible, given the unprecedented circumstances we are facing. Thank you for your dedication and contribution to our community. Though we may not be able to celebrate together in person, I wish you my most sincere congratulations as you come together virtually to participate. To everyone in attendance, I wish you and your families a wonderful Ramadan, and I hope all are keeping safe during this time. Thank you to the MP, Michelle Rempel, for sending us her loving message. I'd also like to acknowledge that Jasraj Hallan, MP, Greg McLean, MP, and Nancy Clayton from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are also tuning in this program, among all the others that have joined us. We have with us Akbar. Akbar is assisting me throughout the program, and he is keeping track of all the messages we are receiving on Twitter. He will be reading some of the social media messages we have received from the audience. Over to you, Akbar.
Thank you very much, Asif. So as many of our viewers already know, this this program is part of a nationwide campaign. And, in this campaign, we've had, fellow Canadians from all walks of life who have shown their support for this campaign. They've, extended their warmest wishes, and, they've had very kind remarks through our social media that we've been monitoring. So like Asif said earlier as well, we encourage all our viewers who are joined in right now as well. You can feel free to continue tweeting #Virtual Ramadan, and you can also tweet at our local page at Islam Calgary. So tweet us your thoughts, maybe, show us how you guys are viewing. Are you viewing as a family? Is it on a TV screen? And we would love to see how that's going. So the first message I'll be reading is from Jonathan G. And he says, "Good job to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community of Calgary for creating a platform for all of us to learn about Ramadan. #Virtual Ramadan." Bardish says, "Every year the Ahmadiyya Muslim community hosts iftar dinner on Parliament Hill. This year, the Ahmadiyya community brought us together for a virtual Ramadan, an innovative way for Canadians to join in community and break fast by physical distancing." Then we have Adil, who says, "Ramadan is a month of acceptance of prayers, and prayers should be made for the rest of your life. Like, may God make us true believers and have love for humanity." And I think that's something our world indeed echoes, this idea of loving humanity. It's something we really, really need if we really want to overcome this unfortunate pandemic. I have a tweet from Omar Amir, who says, "The pandemic has left Muslims bereft of a crucial component of Ramadan, attending the mosque for collective prayers and gatherings. #Virtual Ramadan, organized by the Calgary Jama'at, is an excellent initiative to show togetherness within the community during this tough time." And this is something I'm sure we can all agree with, that it is one of those unique circumstances that we are in, and we are overcoming it through this technology that we have. Malik says, "It is great to see leaders of various faith groups being part of the virtual Ramadan program, a great reflection of the Mosaic Society of Canada, indeed." And we have just a couple more. One is from Hafiza Amtul, who gives her warmest wishes. She says, "Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. The program is going very well." And it's at its Dove One says, "Enjoying the virtual Ramadan program with my family. #Islam Calgary, #YYC." So thank you all to those who tweeted their thoughts, and we've seen pictures as well of how you guys are viewing. So right now it looks like we have about 360 viewers who have virtually joined us for this program, but that only means we have 360 screens that are tuned in right now. There are many families, some very large, who registered, and I know they are tuning in together, because we had about 1,050 around their registrations, which is fantastic. And I'm sure aside from the registers as well, there were many families who may have forgotten to register and may not have been able to do that. And I'm sure they have joined us today. And if you know someone who wasn't able to join in, then we live in this technology centric world. So we are lucky that we can also take benefit by watching the recording of this program, which will be coming up in the coming days. So with that, we're excitedly looking forward to more tweets as we're scrolling anxiously through this timeline. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Asif.
Thank you, Akbar. And those messages were so heartwarming when you were reading them. Thank you to all the viewers who are sending in their messages, and Ramadan Mubarak to all of you as well. Hopefully you're enjoying your Ramadan experience. For those of you who are joining us now, we have with us a very distinguished panel of speakers. We have with us Honorable Jug Sahota, Dr. Warren Harbeck, Imam Zahid Abid, Raksh Joshi, Honorable Rick McIver, Honorable Rajan Sohani, Councillor George Chahal, Chief Lee Crowchild, Reverend Adrian Martins, Raj Gill, and of course, we have with us today Mayor Nahid Nenshi, and we will be speaking, we will be hearing what the mayor has to say later on in the program. And as Akbar has already mentioned, the viewers at home can also participate in the program by expressing themselves via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @IslamCalgary. Please use the hashtag Virtual Ramadan, Ramadan being spelled as RAMADAN. Our next guest is Honorable Rajan Sohani. She is the MLA for Calgary Northeast and is the Minister for Community and Social Services. She is a great friend of the Jama'at. Over to you, Minister Sohani.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone, and Ramadan Kareem. I just want to start off by saying I'm so honored to be invited to this celebration today. So thank you so much. And when you say that I'm a great friend of your organization and mosque, that's absolutely true. I'm a strong supporter, and I've certainly been in attendance at many different events at the mosque. I'm actually in Fort McMurray right now. I had come out yesterday because this community has been devastated by a number of different things, most recently the flood. Obviously, COVID-19 has had a detrimental impact on not just residents of Fort McMurray, but Albertans and residents all across this globe. And the economic crisis that the community is facing has resulted in a very difficult time for residents here in Fort McMurray. And as I was here and as I was meeting folks who are out there doing some volunteer work and helping out in terms of cleaning up with the devastation, it became apparent to me that works of charity and works of goodness are everywhere within our province. And there's also a mosque here in Fort McMurray. It's a Fort McMurray Islamic Center. And I did drive by, it was flooded. I recognized it right away from the green dome, and I took some photos there as well. And I was told by the community that there is another mosque on the east end of town and that the community was busy giving out water bottles and aid packages. And when they were telling me that, I said, of course they are. Of course they are. Absolutely, because it is the month of Ramadan. And this is the only time that these charitable good works come out. This is a hallmark of the Muslim community. So I know that with this pandemic, it's been very difficult for everyone, not just within the Muslim community, but of communities of all faiths, to get together and communally celebrate and remember God. But I do know that everybody understands that it's very important for us to work together as community to flatten the curve. And I really do want to take this opportunity to thank you all for your collective efforts in doing so. I know communal connection is very, very important. And this initiative of a national campaign launched by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at to help the larger community experience and learn more about Ramadan is very, very commendable. I also want to congratulate the Muslim community in Calgary for being able to broadcast Azan yesterday. I was driving to Fort McMurray late last night, as I was saying, and somebody did send me a video. And as I was driving into the city, the lavender sky, with the sounds of the azan, my heart was full. My heart was full in gratitude and for the love that I could hear coming from the community. Once again, I want to thank you so much for all the great work that you do. I wish everybody peace, blessings, joy, good health, and many, many more opportunities to serve the community and to engage in charitable good works. God bless you all, and thank you.
Thank you, Minister Sahani. We'd also like to thank you for allowing this to happen, where we can call the azan at the time of sunset. So thank you for making that happen. Before we get on to our next guest, I'd like to acknowledge that Tony Snow, an Indigenous leader, he's also joining us. Sandra Suter, Cynthia Bird, Shane Gauthier from the Aboriginal Friendship Center have also joined us today. Our next guest is Councillor George Chahal. George is the Councillor of Ward 5, and he believes that Ward 5's diversity is their strength and an opportunity for them to create prosperity for their ward and all of Calgary. George Chahal was an entrepreneur running his own business and also serves on several community committees in the city. Over to you, George.
Well, thank you. Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. Ramadan is a month of prayer, reflection, and community. Ramadan this year is different because of COVID-19 and because of physical distancing, as we're not able to congregate together as a community, but still can with our families and virtually. I want to thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at for holding this virtual Ramadan and their ongoing service to the community. I had the opportunity during the Christmas holidays to be able to play in a basketball tournament with many of the youth in the community, and it was a great time to get to know many of them. I know this year as well, one of the best Canada Day celebrations that I've attended over the years, we will not be able to get together at Prairie Winds Park to be able to do that because of the crisis we're facing in our community. But next year we will, and we'll be stronger as we move forward. At the city, we are able to, as Minister Sani mentioned, and thank you for her advocacy on this issue as well, allow for the public announcement of azan prayer for this month of Ramadan. And I really want to thank also Mayor Nenshi for his advocacy and support on this initiative. And I know it's a really important initiative for our community to be able to do this. I want to wish everyone Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you, George, and thank you for reminding us of that amazing basketball tournament that we had last year, and hopefully this time around we get to have a hockey tournament, and maybe you can join us this year as well.
I would love to. Thank you.
Our next guest is Chief Lee Crowchild. He has been a great friend of the Jama'at for many years. He has led the Tsuut'ina Nation from 2017 till 2019. He brings a wealth of traditional knowledge about Tsuut'ina lifeways. Please welcome Chief Lee Crowchild in speaking about the significance of fasting according to Native spirituality. Chief Lee Crowchild.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Tieskas. Tatana stara size hakije chatinite kazeata. Kuniyaha gutsiste de shahiata. Assalamu alaikum. thank you to all my friends, my brothers, my sisters that are visitors from another country. Well, no, you're actually my brothers and sisters of this land. The city of Calgary and everybody is in there. I welcome you to my land. I was asked to talk about the importance of fasting. And I'll give you a little bit of a history. During a time of change, when you become from a young child to either a young man or a young woman, there's a time right there where you're meant to be captured and you're meant to be sent away for 4 days to live out in the bush, mostly men, and to fast for 4 days without food, without water. It's all about prayer. And this is when the natural world comes to talk to you. And they have the plan of what your life plan is supposed to be. Everybody's was different. It was an important time, especially for young men, because their minds had to be, there's a little switch in your head that has to be turned on from that of a young boy who knows no wrong. They can do whatever they do, it's not wrong, to be that of a young man. A young man who doesn't know anything, but still treated as a man. And you're taught progression as you go through the values of what you're meant to be, which society you're meant to be, whether you're a hunter-gatherer, a warrior, a spiritual person. It was all laid out for you. And you learned it as you went along. You were always mentored by those that are older than you. We say the word elders, but that doesn't necessarily mean somebody that's really old. It's somebody that might be a couple of years older than you. They're elder to you because they lived those experiences. The time of fasting is at this time as we're going right now. The time of the thunderbirds coming in. Thunderbirds coming in to bring balance to the land, to the people, and to give hope. This year with Ramadan and with all our people going out to fast, it's much more important because we've all prayed for change. We've all prayed for things to get better. And the world was listening. The natural world, natural laws, they're saying, we're hearing what you're saying, so we're going to start bringing change. It's not the way we wanted it to come, but it's what we asked for. So every single one of us is dealing with this COVID-19 crisis in the only ways we know. Some are strong in prayer, others are strong in action. But all of us are challenged of how we're going to handle this spiritually. We're all challenged. And when this pandemic passes, it'll take what belongs to it. It'll take some of our loved ones, some of our dearest friends. But it'll say, these belong to me now. This is the price you paid for change. And that's why I think this time of fasting and that, we have to be very aware of what it is we're fasting for. Yes. We are fasting for change. We are fasting for a better world. Yep. We're fasting for our loved ones. And we're putting our little sacrifices in there.
Exactly.
So I would say, this is my message to you, why it was important for our young men and young women to do this. I'm not a woman, so I can't really say what happens in a woman's fasting. That's not my place to say that. But for our elderly women and that, they know, and they would pass that on. We need to know those distinctions. This natural world and natural laws is dictating everything that's happening every day to us, each and every one of us. Nothing we can do. But we learn to live with prayer. We learn to live with each other. We learn that we are creating a better world for the next generations that are coming.
Indeed.
We all have an important role. So Sias Gus, thank you all for hearing me, and I'm so honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Lee Crowchild, for those words of wisdom. And we are all praying for humanity that we get out of this difficult time, and hopefully the world is a far better place than it was before this pandemic hit. Thank you, Chief Lee Crowchild. Our next guest is Deputy Chief Raj Gill. Actually, our next guest is Father Adrian Martins. Sorry about that. Father Adrian Martins is Vicar for Lay Associations for the Diocese of Calgary, Coordinator for the Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs, and Associate Priest at Ascension Catholic Parish. Adrian will be shedding light on the significance of fasting in light of Christianity. Adrian?
First of all, we wanted to thank you and send our peace and greetings and everything else here. It's good to see everybody's faces as well too, some very familiar faces and in this very difficult time. First of all, before I get into this, just short kind of talk about, in addition to what everyone else is talking about here, Christianity and how it approaches fasting. I want to just pass on regrets from Bishop McGrattan, who's the Roman Catholic Bishop of Southern Alberta. He's apologizing that he's not able to come, but he sends me. So when we think about fasting in Christianity, it actually focuses on the importance of growing in the virtues. And this is expressed in the Bible, where St. Peter admonishes Christians to supplement your faith with virtue. And we can see this in a natural way in our world. A person might believe the right things, think the right things, claim to have faith, claim to be religious, but they might be cruel and maybe self-centered. Therefore, along with right belief, with faith, is right actions. But not just actions, of course. We need to have the strength to do the right thing at the right time. For example, if somebody cuts us off in traffic, immediately we might go to rage. However, if we build up strength, if we build up virtue, we might be less angry and maybe might say a quick prayer for them, instead leaving the matter to God. And so in the Christian tradition, I think St. Thomas Aquinas probably sums it up the best way. He says that there's 3 reasons why we fast. And I think, of course, this isn't just related to Christians, this is related to all people. Number 1, he says that fasting makes someone control their mind better. Remember, of course, morality is growing in virtue, it's growing in strength. Therefore, fasting will give you a habit to resist something. For example, I found as I was sort of researching this a little bit here, that the medical website WebMD advises people that they should eat the food you crave less often. And this is scientifically proven that if you eat the food that you crave less often, you'll actually grow in the habit of not going towards that food. And so fasting makes someone control their mind better. Number 2, fasting helps us grow in virtue by helping us to focus on heaven rather than on material reality. And I know actually a couple of us talked about this before. This comes out, at least in the Christian tradition, as well as the Jewish tradition, in Daniel, where specifically the prophet Daniel receives a vision, a heavenly vision, after and during fasting. So fasting helps us to grow in virtue by helping us to focus on heaven rather than on the material reality. Number 3, fasting is a way to serve God and to conform our will to his. The Bible says, "Turn your heart to me with mourning and fasting." St. Augustine, one of the church fathers from the Christian tradition, says, "Fasting cleanses the soul, raises the mind, subjects one's flesh to the spirit, renders the heart contrite and humble, scatters the clouds of inclination to do evil." Just to end us off here, I just want to give a quote from Jesus Christ on fasting, which is beautiful and really sort of captures all these things, because of course we can kind of do outward fasting, we can try to focus on these three things I talked about, but I think this is really the center of fasting, I think, for everyone who believes and loves fasting and loves God. Jesus said, "When you fast, do not look somber like the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others that they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. When you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Thank you so much, everybody. Many peace and blessings. And again, if there's anything we can do to help you out, I know that a lot of the members of the mosque and of course people in the wide sort of cyberspace there attend our Catholic schools, Calgary Catholic School Division. And many people are also connected to Calgary Catholic Immigration Society and St. Vincent de Paul. If you need anything, please give us a call or an email and we'll try to help you as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, for such kind words. And truly, fasting is a way to gain that connection with God. And there are so many similarities between the fasting that has been prescribed in the Christian faith, as well as that of in the Islamic practice. Thank you so much, Adrian, for those words. Our next guest is Deputy Chief Raj Gill. Raj Gill is Calgary's third Deputy Chief. He has 29 years of policing experience with the RCMP. He comes to the Calgary Police Service having recently been promoted to the rank of Assistant Commissioner, National Human Resources. In this role, he has been providing executive leadership to all RCMP HR functions and services across Canada. I'll hand it over to Deputy Chief Raj for his comments.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to join you as you celebrate the holy month of Ramadan. Our city has gone through some difficult times these past few months, and the current pandemic continues to change our routines and traditions. Many religious communities have had to adjust practices that have been the norm for centuries in order to protect their loved ones and community. I know many of Calgary's Muslims are missing iftar dinners and prayers at their mosques during this time, but it is so encouraging to see new ways of connecting being tried, like this virtual celebration. I also know that in typical Amida fashion, you are finding new ways to reach out and help others in the community who are struggling and feeling isolated. Thank you for all that you are doing for our city and for each other. Your resilience and creativity during this time is an inspiration to so many. From all of us at the Calgary Police Service, Ramadan Mubarak. I hope that even with our current challenges, you still find this time to be a great blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts because of all the work that you guys do in keeping us safe, even during these difficult times. You are putting your lives in danger to save ours. Thank you so much for all that you do. We have with us our next guest, Cynthia Simmons. She is the president of Temple Bani Tikwa. Cynthia will be enlightening us on the significance of fasting in light of Judaism. Cynthia? If Cynthia can...
I muted myself, so there we are.
Thank you, Cynthia. You're on.
Welcome. So as you heard, I'm the president of Temple B'nai Tikva. We're the Reformed Jewish synagogue in Calgary. Thank you for the invitation to come here. It's a pleasure to speak to you on behalf of our congregation. A guiding idea in Judaism is that we need to work as individuals and to work with others and to work with God to repair the world. We call this idea tikkun olam. And from my understanding, the practice of Ramadan guides you to that end as well. When we practice our fast days in Judaism, there are many lessons. When we go without food, we are reminded of others' hunger, and our compassion and understanding can be increased. When we donate the money we would have spent on food to those in need, we see again that generosity and sharing can make a true difference. When we come together to pray, we are reminded of the value of searching for knowledge and for understanding. And when we come together to break the fast, we're reminded of the joy that being part of a family and a community can bring. Our Rabbi, Mark Glickman, could not be with you today because his father died and he is in mourning. When I talked to him about my speaking with you, he reminded me that when Abraham, the father of both of our faiths, died, that his sons, Isaac, the patriarch of Judaism, and Ishmael, the prophet of Islam, came together to bury their father. Yes, they were united in their grief, but they were also united in their common purpose. It seems to me that today our two faiths continue to share a common purpose. I read that similar to our fast at Yom Kippur, that the fasting and practice of Ramadan is the embodiment of reflection, revelation, revolution, and restoration. That it has the power to bring a revolution to the heart and to help to restore justice, peace, and harmony. To heal the world. May that healing begin today and stay with us far into the future. Ken yehi ratzon, may it be God's will. That's all.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. And as you've said so eloquently, Ramadan is not just an individual exercise, meaning you've said it that, you know, in Judaism, it's not just an individual exercise, but a collective exercise. And Ramadan teaches the same thing, where we help each other in becoming better individuals. Thank you so much for those kind words. And please do pass our sincere condolences to Rabbi Glickman. May God give him patience in this difficult time. Thank you so much. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, has highlighted that Muslims are to worship God and they are to serve humanity. The Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at is always looking for ways to serve the community. His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad has beautifully instructed, be there to wipe away the tears of those who have been left bereft, heartbroken, and vulnerable. It's with these principles in mind that we strive to serve humanity as best as we can. I'd like to ask the media team to play a video of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association, which highlights the various initiatives that they have undertaken in serving the local community.
The Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association of Calgary is dedicated to serving the members of the Calgary community. Over the past 12 months, our efforts have been aimed at making Calgary a better community for all of its citizens. With the partnership of the Canadian Blood Services, we raised more than $20,000 at the 2019 Run for Calgary. In addition, members of our community donated 80 bottles of blood this past winter as part of the Canadian Blood Services campaign. We further pledged 1,000 bottles of blood across Canada amongst our various chapters. During the winter holidays, we distributed meals to those most in need through our Meals on Wheels campaign in downtown Calgary. And lastly, but most importantly, we have launched the Neighborhood Helper campaign, which is focused on assisting Calgarians deal with the COVID-19 crisis. The focus of this campaign is delivering daily essentials such as groceries and medicine to those who cannot leave their homes during the COVID-19 crisis. Members of our youth organization have been delivering goods and offering their assistance as much as possible. In addition, we've reached out to non-for-profit organizations who are running out of volunteers to offer our assistance. If you know a person or an organization that can use our volunteers, please communicate our message and we'll be there for the city of Calgary.
Thank you for that video. And indeed, we will always be there for the city of Calgary, not just for the city of Calgary, but for all Canadians. The Holy Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, has instructed that we cannot be truly grateful to God until we are grateful to man. And in this pandemic, we owe so much gratitude to the frontline workers in this fight against COVID-19. Doctors, nurses, police officers, firefighters, pharmacists, and even other essential workers like transit operators and store clerks. And these are just to name a few. We mentioned earlier how important selflessness and sacrifice are right now. And these men and women have demonstrated remarkable selflessness and sacrifice. Not only should we be thankful to them for risking their lives, but we should never forget to pray for them as well. May God give them long and healthy lives and enable them to serve with the selflessness and sacrifice that they have been doing so eloquently. Thank you to all of our heroes. During the month of Ramadan, we have talked about how selflessness and a sense of sacrifice is so prevalent during this month. And we become more charitable during the month of Ramadan as well. And as I've mentioned earlier, the Holy Prophet of Islam, he used to be so much more charitable during the month of Ramadan that it used to be as if a fast blowing wind was blowing. And we will continue those charitable efforts. We will continue, and they will be carried out with more passion and vigor during the month of Ramadan. Our next guest needs no introduction. Mayor Naheed Nenshi was sworn in as Calgary's 36th mayor in 2010. He is the best mayor in the world. And these are not just mere words, but he was actually awarded the 2014 World Mayor Prize by the UK-based City Mayors Foundation as the best mayor in the world. And the mayor has been waiting very patiently. So over to you, Mayor Nenshi.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's so great to be here during Ramadan with all of you today. And by the way, I'm very proud of myself. I know proud is a bit of a sin, but I'm very proud of myself that I went through the technical difficulty of Googling purple Ramadan background and was able to do that. But what a pleasure to have spent the last hour with all of you, with so many of our brothers and sisters from different faiths, talking about fasting, talking about community, talking about being together. And to me, that's what's critical about all of this. You know, I remember saying on the first night of Ramadan that, as many of us have said this evening, this Ramadan is completely different. None of us have ever experienced anything like it before. No congregational prayer, no getting together with extended family and friends to break the fast to have the iftar. And there will be no big gatherings for Eid. No bouncy castles, no big tents, no coming together in congregational prayers on that day. And in a time when so many are feeling frustrated and angry and sad, in a time when so many of us are grieving for so much that we've lost, for so much of the life that we value, that we have together in our community, it's important for us to remember that what we are doing in this isolation, in staying apart from one another physically, is indeed an act of love. It's an act of love for the community. It's an act of love for others to try and prevent them from becoming ill. And it's shocking to me how quickly this came apart, came together and came apart, I suppose, when all of this happened so fast. You know, you heard from Councillor Chahal earlier. He and I were in India on a business trip for the city of Calgary, and we were almost chasing the virus. The first case in Calgary happened while we were away. We landed on a Saturday. By Monday, I was telling people, you know, you probably shouldn't shake hands. By the following Saturday, we had declared a state of local emergency and shut everything down. It happened that fast. But as human beings, we've been resilient. We've been able to think about how to change. We've been able to think about how to hang on to those things that we value the most: compassion, kindness, mercy, love, all of us. And that's what this virtual Ramadan is about for me. You know, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamā'at has in this community always been such a great example of seva, of service, of what Cynthia calls tikkun olam, healing the world. We need to continue to do that together, and coming together in virtual ways like this is an important part of doing that work. So while Ramadan looks different, while it feels different, what is the same is our devotion and commitment to it. So I've always said that in my personal spiritual practice, I always think of the act of fasting during Ramadan as a reminder that that small pang of hunger or of thirst reminds me of those in the world for whom hunger is not an option. It reminds me of my own role in the world, using my own brain, my own hands, my own soul to try and do good for others. And so I hope that my fellow Muslims across the city, across the country, across the world are thinking the same, that this Ramadan is a reminder, while the sacrifice we're being asked to make is more, the rewards are so much greater in keeping everyone else safe. And as you've heard from Councillor Chahal and from Minister Sani, I was so pleased to be able to allow for the broadcasting of the Azan, the sunset prayer, for the remainder of Ramadan, to remind all of us Muslims and non-Muslims alike that we might not be able to get together physically, but in this community, we are always together. So I can't let this moment go with a big crowd without saying what I say to everyone. The future of this pandemic and the safety of community is in our own hands. It's in our own clean hands. So from the very beginning of this, I've been saying the following three things, and I'll say them again tonight. Number one is clean hands. That just doesn't mean wash your hands 20 seconds at a time, sing happy birthday twice. It means do everything you physically can to avoid spreading the virus. It means acting not like someone who doesn't want to get sick, but rather acting like someone who is sick and does not want to spread the virus. Acting like every single person you come into contact with is your 90-year-old grandmother. The second is clear heads. It's easy to be angry and sad and frustrated. I am all of those things every day. It's easy to be hopeful and optimistic and filled with joy about the province reopening, and I am those things too. But we don't have the luxury of giving in to these things. We cannot afford to be giving in to these things. Every single decision we make has to be clear-headed, purposeful, directional. We have to ensure that every action we take, every decision we make is one that is ultimately for the best for our families and for our communities. But the most important is the third one, open hearts. In these times of physical isolation, we have to remember that physical distancing can never mean social isolation. It means reaching out to our community and our family and our elders even more than we normally would. It means being deeply thankful and living our lives in gratitude that we get to live here. In a global pandemic, there's nowhere in the world I'd rather be. But living in gratitude of our healthcare workers, of the people who work in grocery stores and warehouses, of the people who drive our buses and look after our garbage, of my colleagues at the City of Calgary who do that work every single day. I, for one, try to live my life every day in gratitude that we live in a community with these incredible heroes in it. So please, on this Ramadan, remember those things. Clean hands, clear heads, open hearts. Ramadan Kareem, everybody.
Thank you so much, Mayor Nenshi, for all the hard work you do. And we will continue following all the guidelines that have been set out so that we can overcome these difficult times. Thank you so much, Mayor Nenshi. Now I'll hand it over to Mr. Sultan Mahmood. Mr. Sultan is the president of the Calgary chapter of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Mr. Mahmood will be giving the final remarks and leading us in the silent prayer. And after the silent prayer, this program will come to its conclusion. So thank you to all of the viewers. Now I'm handing it over to Mr. Sultan Mahmood.
In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. We are almost 4 minutes over time, and I'm going to be very brief in my comments. Very, very brief, in fact. So I want to conclude by saying that thank you to all the participants and the viewers for staying with us. May Allah bless you all. It's a tradition in Islam that we start our program with the recitation of the Holy Quran, and we conclude with the silent prayers. So the participants or the viewers can pray in their own way, but we as Muslims will raise hands, and please join me in silent prayers. Ameen.